What's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we're going to be talking about the XRP price chart, but we're going to be looking at it on a little bit of a bigger time frame. Essentially, trying to see if we can mathematically guess with a price prediction on where it could go by the time things come to a conclusion in this market. Essentially, what does the math say that the price could get to? Lots of price predictions out there, $8, $9, $10, $20, $50, you know it, $10,000, whatever. I'm going to try to do my best with math to show you the confluences that I see throughout the market and focus on the bigger picture of what's going on. As we all know, just 2 days ago, Brad Garlinghouse announced that the SEC is dropping their appeal in the lawsuit, making the lawsuit effectively over. This all happened 20 minutes before markets in the morning on Wednesday. I had already prepped my entire live stream saying, hey, I think we are likely going to have some sideways. Go enjoy your spring break. Go get your mulch put down in your yard, your grass cleaned up, get your dead bushes out of there from the winter. Enjoy life with the kids for a week. But we end up getting the news right before the live stream. Price pops up. As we know, news doesn't tend to be able to carry the market itself. You've got to have the macro effects happening in the market too. So it seems like we're just kind of heading back to really where we should have been. Personally, I don't think it's a big deal. Kind of covered this in a video yesterday. The bigger picture of what's going on in the market. Those are my thoughts. It's going to take everything from the whole market moving to the Russell 2000. The whole works. I think we'll get it. Just not quite time yet. But what I really want to focus on is these things that we've been talking about for quite some time over here. And I want to mix in this picture of Bitcoin in here to, again, reiterate the idea of like an $8, $9, $10 price for XRP by the time everything comes to a conclusion. That's the max price target that I can come up with, which we don't know if it'll get there, but I'll show you mathematically why I look to that. People are always, wanting a price prediction, wanting some type of hopium. Everything I try to do it with math. I try to see if it's on the charts, can it mathematically work? And by the time this video is complete, I think you'll have your head fully wrapped around the $8, $9, $10 level. You'll see why I don't subscribe to $100, $20, $1,000, all the money, everything running on Swift and Ripple, all that stuff. I just don't take any of that into account. It's all math-based for me. So in order for me to figure out what I think the price of XRP can get to, I have to have a belief system of what I think Bitcoin's going to end up doing. My thoughts that I share over here on Bitcoin are that we are in this type of price behavior happening in the market, and that what we're seeing happening here in 2025 is really kind of our last correction that we have before the blow off top happens in the market. And for those who were here back in 2021, recalling what it was like when the top was happening, was that these were the models that we were using for the top of the market back then, implying that Bitcoin was topping in here and that we would not see $100,000 in 2021. We then went on to do a correction and price fired its way back up to the highs to then do ABC corrections happening in here. Since then, breaking out. And it appears like this is going to be kind of a prolonged process to make this whole thing happen in here for us to get the final blow off ending. So my thesis of the market is that there is still another push for Bitcoin, but we're pretty close to the end. And if we just use this as a model, which we don't know if it'll follow it, but if we used it as a model, it would imply that price eventually could work its way up to about $127,000. That would become the peak of the market, having it fall all the way back to about $92,000, followed by a 702 Fibonacci retracement, which would take it back to just under 117,000, and that would be the end of the market. Blow off top, crash, retrace, capitulation. Standard topping behavior. So if we use this as a model and we use these prices, well, then there's interesting things that we can do. We have these charts that we've been working with here over here on the XRP Bitcoin chart, the XRP dominance chart, and we can use these to do some types of calculations. For example, if the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart is going to do something similar to what we've seen historically happen, and I've used these examples for XRP and for Litecoin, the altcoin market cap, Ethereum, and shown how these 4.236 extensions come from these types of ranges, that we could essentially guess that the top probably somewhere around 8,200 sats. It's kind of where it could peak out at. Now, if that happened right here, well, Bitcoin was, say, $127,000, $10.46. If the second Bitcoin tops is the exact moment that XRP hits a 4.236 extension of the range for the XRP versus Bitcoin chart, that'd give you $10.40. If it hit 8,200 sats on the retrace, When we typically see the altcoin market reach its peak is during Bitcoin's retracement. Well, at 116,800, that gives you a price of $9.57. So assuming that this happens in these two best case scenarios, this price range is between $9.57 to $10.40. Now, if you were to ask me which one do I think is more likely to happen if this played out exactly like this, it's that it likely wouldn't top in this moment right here. It's that it would likely top over here because that's historically what happens in the market. It's what happened in 2017 and in 2021. All the euphoria came into this moment where the peak of the market happened for the altcoin market, and it would seem more likely to be in that area. So if you were to go to $9.57 from the current location we're at right now, that would be a 304% rise from the current price that it's at right now. Well, what also happens to be within that range? Well, the market cap of XRP, its 4.236 extension, is 283% from where we are right now. 304% is not much above that. It's right there in that zone. As we all know, that's been the primary area of focus for me for years on this channel is not the price chart, but the market cap chart. And where does that land us at when we're at the 4.236 extension? And that target is kind of ever changing because of just inflation that happens, right? It's got about a 7% inflation rate annually. That number kind of continues drifting down and down and down. But our 304% price number just so happens to place us right here, right around that 4.236 extension. In the event that we go for a 4.236 extension of this range, as our examples have all indicated, whether we're using the XRP chart or we're looking at the Litecoin chart or the Ethereum chart for 4.236, or even the altcoin market for 4.236 after that major battle happening back at the previous all-time high, just as we're experiencing on the market cap of XRP, which is also what was happening with Litecoin back then in 2017. Big knockback after trying to get through that all-time high and the big battle pursued. And that's what was happening over here for Ethereum back at the previous all-time high. That eventually led to the 4.236 extension. And so all these models that we look at in building this stuff, it's taking that into consideration, right? That this is the environment that we're in. These are the types of structures we should be creating here in this environment. And we still continue to see that on various charts in here, like the dominance and on XRP versus Bitcoin. But as you saw with those examples for like Ethereum or Litecoin or the altcoin market, right? Those are taking into account the price chart, right? So our price chart doesn't quite get us out there to $9.50 or $10.40. Our price chart only gets us out to about $8.68, which is a rise of about 266% from the current price that we're at today. It is 266 on the button. Well, 266% actually drops us just a little bit shy of that 4.236 extension and lands us right in there. And that would imply that when Bitcoin is at about $105,700, that would be the exact moment that you would hit that 8,200 sats, right? Could it be possible that you're in some type of retrace and it's like this moment right in here, that is where XRP actually tops? Then there becomes just more rotations that happen throughout the cryptocurrency market. I think it's reasonable. Now, you may say to yourself as well, why are we even using this 8,200? Why do we think that's where XRP versus BTC is going to end up topping out at? I've covered this many times in past videos, but first of all, it does give us waves of near equal length, where if we saw something of the same magnitude of what we just saw happen back in November and December, that's about the area where it would end up getting us to. I've also showed this many times, how this level is where like Ethereum topped out at versus Bitcoin. It's been the big struggle. It's just been the long-standing narrative of that, that's where everything just really stopped. And it's just been the rollover for FBTC ever since. XRP obviously has never been able to get itself back up to there. But this is the major struggle level that happened over here for Ethereum as well. Also, one way to look at this is to kind of look at it from the inverted perspective. And I'll take all of this off the screen. And then down here, we'll just look at Bitcoin dominance. And so what this helps structurally understand here is what you're looking at on the top is you're looking at the inverted perspective of XRP versus BTC. Down here, you're looking at the Bitcoin dominance from 2021 to kind of get an idea on how prices played out in here. And where you're you're at currently right now is as if you're in here, right? Just kind of humming along, waiting for the next big break to come into the market. And you can get a clue here on just, where the support level came in here for Bitcoin dominance back in 2021. And ever since then, this area has been the hold right in here. And then ever since then, right, it's just been the meandering all the way back here to the 702 retracement, which it's still stuck at, right? But if you were to do that, right, and make a move similar to that, well, that's all right here. I'll go ahead and take yourself off that invert perspective. And where do we get back to? It's just what we were exactly talking about. It's like that 8,200 sats level, right? Give or take, right? Right. If I'm trying to be precise, right, obviously it's going to have to be with these Fibonacci extensions in here. And that's what lands me at like that 8,200, because that's what our examples give. That's what these structures give. Like I'm showing here for XRP back in 2017 and 18. I've given you examples of Litecoin from a different place in 2017. I've given you examples of Ethereum in the altcoin market in 2020 and 2021. This is just a typical behavior, and that's really just where the measurements take you, these 4.236 extensions of these ranges. But in general, this has been a area of struggle for even things like Ethereum for several years now, which this has not been able to get through, right? So even like in an absolute hopium scenario where Bitcoin goes to $127,000, this still just lands you at like $10, 1040. If it happens during a retracement, if that like perfect scenario plays out and it happens during a retracement, then it lands you at like 950. But if it happens a little bit earlier, we could actually just get that nice 4.236 extension on the actual price chart happening in here. And that all these things that are pointing to still give you that actual area of interest, which is the 4.236 extension of the market cap. And I can't mathematically make us go any higher than that without Bitcoin going to some crazy number. It essentially mathematically has to. It has to exceed $127,000. It's got to go to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 if we're going to somehow make it work that XRP versus BTC is going to get into this area and the price is somehow going to exceed $11. It would have to be that Bitcoin goes way higher. But I've been trying to be real consistent with what I'm thinking is happening in the market, that I do think we'll get a new high on Bitcoin, but I'm actually not a believer that we're going to see something crazy like 200, and that this would insinuate like max target of like 127, 128 if this ends up being right. Like, first of all, I think it's right. But like if Bitcoin went back right there and it got to $105,000, $106,000 and it happened exactly at the same time XRP hits 8,200 sats, I'll change my mind very quickly. I'm like, no, that's it. Triple top, done. But we're obviously really far away from that. There's a lot more that would have to play out before that would happen. But if that did, that would be very easy for me to do. I'd just be like, nope, look what we did. We came in here. Here was this breakdown that was never back tested in here. It's the highest one that we have. All of these got back tested. This is the only gap that was left on the chart all throughout here in this zone. It's the only gap left up to here. If all we do is head back to close that gap and we hit 8,200 sats at that exact moment, I'll change my tune on Bitcoin setting a new all-time high very fast. But that's a way it could happen too, right? But like there's like kind of like two different messages that I'm kind of like portraying in here. I'm trying to show you all the examples in here to show you, hey, like it's really common to go for these 4.236 extensions of these ranges when they're acting like this, and we still are acting like it, right? Trying to give you these examples in here of how these even behave to show where they can land in, and to show you that in order for these things to happen, we have to see particular price action happen over there in Bitcoin. And just kind of giving the examples of like, even like the most hopium scenario I can come up with for Bitcoin's $127,000. And in the event that this happened here on the XRP versus Bitcoin price chart at the exact same time, that's like only a $10.40 price. For me, $10.40 is absolutely phenomenal. I will have the best year of my life. But we know that, there's so much content around creating like really crazy narrative stories, ideas, fantasies, and irrational prices to go along with it. But if I mathematically do everything, it all just lands me there. I just continuously go between $8, $9, $10. And that $8, $9, $10 still all gets corroborated on whether or not Bitcoin just goes back to 105,700 or if it does this whole thing, right? Which I do favor this. But even in that event, to just gap close, it still works. And it still hits a 4.236 extension. And that all of the little scenarios I can draw up with, they all just land you in that little box of price numbers. And it all just happens to be at the 4.236 extension of the market cap. Again, I favor it. That's where we're headed. But the math even says 8, 9, 10. And there's no guru magic here. You get to see all these things for yourself and how that would end up happening. And maybe something like this happening in the event that it goes, right? That moment is actually when that's happening, right? And then that last push is how you get to that. So in here, I've tried to incorporate all these different things and how these measurements just get us out to here, how they get us to here, how the XRP versus Bitcoin chart has that confluence of getting us to that area, and what would mathematically be the price in the event that that occurs. And then giving all the examples of how when you do this price behavior back here, back at the all-time high, when these things are occurring and it's just really struggling to get through, the target becomes a 4.236 extension from there. And that's true here on other assets, including the market cap of the altcoin market from 2021 and including Ethereum, that these targets become 4.236 extensions. Not only that all the math checks out for that in the event that this is the way things play out, that there's confluence there for the $8, $9, $10 price level. But other things we've also shown is just the type of structure we even have here on the XRP price chart, which is a crash, retrace, reaccumulation to break out that these targets are also 4.236 extensions, which is exactly what you saw for Bitcoin back in 2018 through 2021. That this entire structural setup, notice, just shy of the 702 for the Bitcoin market cap, just shy of the 702 for the XRP market cap, that eventually, struggling at the all-time high, goes on to hit the 4.236 extension. And of course, I've shown this over here for Ethereum as well from back in 2017. Doing all of this up here on top of this high after a crash, retrace, reaccumulation, all this stuff happens here back at the all-time high to ultimately, what? 4.236 extension. So yeah, everything just points to it. You've got the confluence there of XRP versus BTC. You got Bitcoin's price saying the same thing, that if this is how it plays out and this is as high as Bitcoin can go, all the math checks out in there for XRP, BTC. And then of course, these structural plays, from 2017's Ethereum, 2021's Bitcoin, whether we're using the full ranges that are happening in here, or even if we just use the measurements of what the struggle at the all-time high is and how that led to it. There's the confluence there that even the measurement of this takes us exactly to the 4.236 extension, still leaving you in the mystery of the 8, 9, 10 level. No more, no less. That's really just kind of the golden zone. And still to this day, that's what it just looks like. It's been a little while since we've kind of incorporated all of these different things together to show that. But I figured it'd be important to just kind of revisit it again, and especially including those XRP versus BTCs and running the math on it, because we've talked a lot about this lately, and we haven't run the math of what it would be if that did happen here on XRP BTC. What would the price have to be in order for that to occur? And again, it has exact confluence to this exact structure playing out in here. And if it's not this structure, which I do think it is, the only thing we'll watch for to make sure there's not some wrong footing that happens in here is if it works back to that $105,000 price level. And if that played out in the middle of that, if we got there, if that goes back to 105, then be like, wait a minute, is there some wrong footing happening here or something? Otherwise, this is still just the game plan and exactly what I think is going to happen. And all of our math checks out for it, and all this math checks out for it. And I just wanted to show you all those different things, to run it through, because people always ask me, do you still think $8, $9, $10? It's like, it's not thinking, it's math. You could see it. This is where the math is coming from. I'm not a guru pulling something out of my back pocket, telling you I got secret indicators showing you that I know where it's going to go. I've got inside scoop. All math. You see how many times it works. You see it for Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin, the altcoin market. You see how these things react. You see how they behave. You see what they do when they get to these levels and how these measurements play out from here, where they take you to. And you see what these major ranges take you to at the same time. It's all there. So I'm still hodling, going for it. But the math totally checks out for it. And my suspicion is we'll see the XRP dominance also be the thing that's kind of the big event happening this time around too. And we see like maybe as high as like around 12% XRP dominance in this market, which is something we haven't seen in a very long time. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this stuff. I know this is stuff that you've seen before, and that's kind of why I'm just including it. It adds complementary support to the things that we're talking about. You guys know this, these 4.236 extensions of these large ranges. You guys know this, the 4.236 extension of these ranges, and that there's a confluence of these two events to land you there. But the main messaging at the same time is the confluence of XRP versus BTC pointing to that as well. And that if that plays out for a 4.236 extension on XRP versus BTC, how does that math check out for the other things we're talking about with Bitcoin at the exact same time? And it checks out there too. So it's a patient waiting game right now, obviously, but nothing has changed and all signs still point to right there. So with things pretty tame today and us heading into a weekend, I thought it would be nice to revisit that. I wanted to show you that math on XRP versus BTC for some time, but then we got caught up with all the Trump announcement of the crypto strategic reserve, then the Bitcoin strategic reserve, and then the chaotic price action of the market along with the stock market, and then SEC lawsuit appeal gets dropped. So it's been busy, but things look fine. Things look normal. And if you caught yesterday's video, I presented the idea that this is just corrective wave 4 for wave 5. So if you didn't check yesterday's video, I would also check that one out too, because that paints the bigger picture of the whole market. And that's the thing that's important for XRP. Hate it or love it, believe in flip the switch or whatever. It is a grand expansion happening in all markets that causes these things to happen. And fortunately, we also have the confluence of that with the rest of the market at the same time that we're trying to wrap up wave 4 here to go for that blow off top wave 5, which is what you would expect to hit a 4.236 extension on XRP, is that would be the blow off wave. So, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you're looking for something to do throughout the weekend, of course, you can check out my newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. I talk a lot about the rotation in the equity markets and how it seems like we're kind of entering a new phase now with mega caps starting to pull back. All eyes on that to see that equity rotation begin. This does include a 30-minute audio recording in here that I personally record. And of course, you get access to all the past newsletters as well and all of the audio recordings that come along with that. You can, of course, check out bcbacker.com for over 40 videos and 11 hours of content teaching you how to set up your own charts and indicators within TradingView and CoinTrader Pro. There are links in the descriptions of each of my videos to the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com and to bcbacker.com. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend, and I will catch you guys next week. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.